The letters. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Africans can never decide for themselves. The moment we decide to decide for ourselves, we become a target to these people. The African must continue to be under slavery. They must always decide what we should do. Tension is increasing between South Africa and the United States of America simply because the United States of America is not happy with South Africa forming alliance with BRICS, China, and Russia. So for that reason, the United States of America is very angry. After accusing the ANC government of genocide in South Africa against the white minority, now US threatens to cut South Africa from SWIFT. They are also accusing the MTN of South Africa of certain things in Afghanistan and Iran because they think that MTN is supporting their enemies against them. Like, Africans cannot just decide what we should do. So there's talks between the banking executives and the finance minister of the possible ways to set themselves free because the US is trying to sanction them severely. The SWIFT system functions as a society whereby we can send and receive money. This is a global network. Africans, we have allowed these people to be treating us the way we are treated.
Night show in South Africa, where local media is reporting that a high-level meeting involving top banking executives and the country's finance minister over potential U.S. sanctions is taking place, or rather took place. Now, Sowetan, which is a daily newspaper, said that their conversation focused on an American bill that, of course, is targeting African National Congress leaders over South Africa's ties with Russia and China. The report indicated fears of restrictions on South Africa's access to the SWIFT interbank payment network, a move that could cripple the country's economy. Now, while the South African Treasury engages its counterparts in the U.S. to ease these tensions, local banks are now bracing for the impact. Of course, tensions with the U.S. have escalated since January, with the Trump administration challenging South Africa over much of its domestic and foreign policies. South Africa's top banking executives and Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana have held discussions on the potential fallout if Washington were to impose sanctions on the country. That is according to a report by Sowetan on Monday. The talks, which took place at a recent Banking Association of South Africa board meeting, reportedly centered on those concerns that, of course, U.S. lawmakers are advancing that bill. Well, let's move on now to get more details on this. We're now joined by Sandile Swana, a governance expert and also a political analyst. Great to have you on the show with us. Now, of course, we have seen SWIFT sanctions devastate other economies around the world. Countries like Russia and Iran have reported devastating impacts to their GDPs. South Africa's economy, on the other hand, is a little bit more diversified. So give us a sense of just how vulnerable you think South Africa is to these sanctions.
Thank you so much. The first thing is that when you read the bill itself, it's certainly quite narrowly focused on certain leaders of the African National Congress. So it's not sanctions that would affect the nation as a whole. Number two, you are quite correct in saying that our economy is diversified. I mean, some of our bankers that you've referenced here actually reported in the past 10 days that they haven't seen much impact of even the trade war itself on the banking accounts of their clients, who are doing international trade. And what is diversified is that actually, if you aggregate the European Union is our second largest trade partner. And number one is China, number three is the US. And the US is actually quite a small portion of our international trade. So there are certain aspects of that. There are certain regions that will be affected: the Cape, the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape. But broadly, the South African economy is largely immune from this.
But what happens going forward if we do see those sanctions kick in and we do see South Africa sort of kicked out of that SWIFT system? Do you think that there is legitimate worry, given that we're seeing leaders meeting today? And also I'd like to get a sense of whether you think there is enough to cushion the country in terms of the deals it has with regional blocs like the AFCFTA.
What has been said in a number of sectors, what the reports we've got from Trade and Industry, our Department of Trade and Industry, barring the sanctions, let's just talk about the tariff wars that have been going on, is that by and large, those issues are largely catered for in terms of the risk diversification. So the issue of the SWIFT system is a remote risk at this point in time. It's not something that can happen. However, if it were to happen, it is not as if there are no alternatives entirely.
Right.
Look at when they even went to Japan. Instead of them to speak collectively as people from the same continent, all the leaders that spoke there were speaking for their countries. So even though they went there together as leaders from Africa, they divided themselves in the presence of Japan. So there they've given Japan the loophole as to how to treat them. We are the reason to which everybody in this world treats us the way they are treating us, because we are not acting collectively. If South Africa is going to be punished for deciding to choose a path to solve the problems of South Africa, why won't other African countries team up, support South Africa, move away from the West, so that you can have a better Africa for yourselves? They came united. That was why they were able to defeat the African. And until we all rise up together and put our differences aside, the way these people injected them in us, we will continue to be defeated this way. How many are they compared to us? In terms of vegetation, population, resources, we are richer than them. But we have allowed ourselves to be inferior for people to determine what they want to use us for. In this 21st century, our leaders still allow these people to treat us anyhow that they so wish. How can somebody with nothing control you that have everything? You will sell your loyalty to these people in exchange for power. This continent isn't theirs. If you start acting right, they will start treating you right, like we are seeing in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. These are the things that African Union need to rise and fight against. But we've seen the African Union will rather channel its energy toward things that are not necessary. How can you be fighting for the size of an African map when we have pressing issues? African Union will do the bid of their masters. After all, they are the ones sponsoring them. So even in their meetings, they have to be among them to know what they are discussing. Yet you call yourself independent people in this 21st century. Which continent do you see their leaders meeting and other people are in their midst, if not Africa? So they will continue to treat us this way until we all decide to unite and fight against this. If you continue to be puppies to these people, this is what we are going to be seeing, because they are making it look as if the African do not have any right to decide on what to do. Yet these people are the ones depending on us for everything. They have nothing. They need your resources in order to survive. So why can't you use that as your power to defeat these people? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, Southern Africa, and in South Africa.